What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Got another stream of the preview show, the Sheffield United at Bramall Lane with us today. Yesterday we had match reaction, obviously, because we played on Wednesday night, and it was a good performance, but a shit defending and a shit evening to end it pretty much on that day. Looking at what Julian had to say in today's preview for QPR against Sheffield United, it's pretty much the same thing. Just basically saying that great game, but just shit defending. So yeah, but we'll move on from that. We will. We got to forget about kind of these results as well, and just move on and focus on the next game gradually each week. So this is the last game before international break, week 3, I believe now. Now, what I am saying about Sheffield United away at Bramall Lane. Actually, do you know what? Let me read the comments first. Ryan says, evening mate, sorry I missed the stream yesterday. That is no worries, mate. It's totally fine, mate. No problem there. Ferry says, hey DB bro, I heard on another channel that their keeper is dodgy at the back, comes for balls and misses. I'll have a look at that actually. I think it's Cooper, I'm not too sure. Ryan says, Julian's reaction confused me. He said for the third time that was our best performance of the season. Yeah, his keep sound like a scratch card record. Ferry says, yeah, listen, look, I get it. It sounds like the same thing he's saying, but technically, if you look at the performances that we're doing, we look good, but we're just not consistent enough, which he has said. And he has said that the defending is shit at the moment. He has said that, and I agree with that, you know. Like I said, I fully back him, you know. I'm not going to come out and say I don't back him, because I fully back him. I think he's the right manager for us, you know. Just because of the results, yeah, cool, the results are shit lately. You know, we're out of form. But I will not be surprised if we get back into it. Real soon. We will get back into it. I've got no doubt there. You know, he's just got to find a rhythm again on who he wants to play at the back, and then go from there. Because he, like I said, at the back it's kind of hard to say. You just got to make sure the tactical adjustments to each team that he plays are the correct ones. So yeah, but yeah, we got Sheffield United at Bramall Lane on Saturday. Chris Wilder is back as their manager after the sacking of Ruben Sellés earlier on in the season after poor results. Sheffield United sit, I believe, if we look at the table, they sit in the relegation zone in 9 points. Minus 15 goals, which is really bad for Sheffield United. They've only had 3 wins this season. Their form going into this game is literally loss. 3 losses, 2 wins. They did beat Watford and they did beat Blackburn, but lost 3-2 to Preston away. They lost to Derby at home 3-1, and they lost to Coventry away 3-1 as well. It looks like they've been playing a 4-4-2 lately. Obviously, we got some players in that Sheffield United team that we know about, obviously in the sense of McCallum, who used to play for us, Callum O'Hare, ex-Coventry City midfielder, quality talent. Now what am I expecting Sheffield United? So I'm not expecting anything big. Like I said, anything can change in that game whatsoever, but I'm not expecting anything madness like possession, momentum, or anything like that, because at the end of the day, Sheffield United are up and down at the moment, you know. And for me right now, as long as we can get the goals, that is the main thing. We're away from home at Bramall Lane, and if we can get the win, get back on form before the international break, it'll be really brilliant. So yeah, like I said, there's not much to really say. The only players to really be wary about is, like I said, for Sheffield United, Callum O'Hare. The defense-wise, they got 2 defenders in me and McGuinness, which is going to be a nuisance. So we need to kind of find out what we're doing with the goal-wise, how we're going to put them in the box, or are we going with working the ball into the box or whatever like that. They don't have any tall strikers. That's a good thing to notice, but on set pieces they might have an opportunity there, so we need to be careful with set pieces on that behalf. Now going on to us, obviously we're going into the game badly in form at the moment, like Sheffield United, with 3 defeats on the trot. 1-0 to Derby, 4-1 Ipswich, 2-1 Southampton. Now pretty much all them games, the Derby one is a bit of a weird one, you know. I didn't expect that, to be honest. Ipswich kind of did expect something to be bad, but not that bad. But Southampton, I think we should have had that in the bag, definitely. The defence let us down on that day against Southampton on Wednesday. So yeah, I believe, like I said, the playing style and everything like that, it seems to be clicking, but it's just the defense at the moment that's not looking great. So yeah, let's look over the comments quickly. Ryan says, need to put a third man in midfield for tomorrow. Morgan definitely looked good when he came on. He looked all right. There was times where I thought he was going to give the ball away because of pace, but he looked all right. West 12 Loft says, what hey to be good to see another stream. Noise, mate, much appreciated. Hopefully you're having a good day. Ryan says, remember that we will be without Norrington Davis tomorrow. I just realized that, and I'm looking at the squad that I've put in there at the moment. I just realized that now. So, but I've heard something about January. I'm not going to mention it yet, but I've heard something. So yeah, I think it's going to be open game. Foley says, we have quality in the squad, but it's down to Julian to decide who starts. Correct, 100%. That's 12. It makes sense. Dembele played well in Sato. I want us to try something different. I do, against Sheffield United. You know, I think the main thing for me is defense. You know, our forward line is brilliant. Burrell is putting them in. I got no issues with the ball going into the box because I trust our team to score goals. But what we're lacking in is defending wise. And that's why, if you can see the lineup that I've put, obviously forget Norrington Davis for now. But this is why I've put the back four the way it is. So I think we should try Adamson at right back, Don in the middle with Mbenge, and then obviously put Harvey Vale now. As I can see this, put Harvey Vale in the left back position, not Escudina just yet. Now, the only reason why I say try this is because, one, I think we need some height in the defensive box, and we need strength. You know, I like Morrison, I like Steve Cook, but they've not been doing great with each other. The last game was more Mbenge, which made really bad mistakes in saying, like, for example, losing the ball in an area where you shouldn't be losing the ball, you know? So Mbenge, I think, is still for us, but I honestly think Don and Mbenge, we need to try in the middle. We need to get there. We need to give Adamson a game. No one's heard anything about Adamson for a while, unless there's injury problems there. I don't know, but we need to try something different at the back. That's what I think. Now in midfield, Madsen and Hayden might be the best choice at the moment. Varane did get an assist on Wednesday with that lovely ball he put over the top for Burrell, but I think right now Hayden might be the best choice for us. I would say in holding midfield. Now, as you can see, the three in midfield ahead of them, Smith, Vale, and Chair. Now, the reason why I left Sato out of this is because I want to see how Vale does in the middle of the pitch and Chair on the left to see how that combination works out. Because Vale, we all know he can play on the left. We know he can play on the right, but in my opinion, the only thing he can do on the right is crossing balls. And I know Vale very well in the sense of watching his game style, and he likes to run with the ball. And Vale, to me, plays better on the left than he does on the right. But I think if he wants to play him in the middle as a number 8 or number 10, he should try it with Chair on the left in this game. Smith on the right, just because of the pace. We need some... I've noticed this. Paul Smith has a brilliant game against Sheffield United. I don't know what it is, but every time he plays Sheffield United, he outruns the back line completely. So yeah, I would say Smith in this game for sure. Vale in the middle, but in this case, Vale's going to probably put, I would say in my terms, left-sided, left back. Obviously, if instead of Esquilino, he might even put Mbenge or Sanfield there. You never know. Now up front is obviously Burrell for me. You know, I still think Kone's got it in him, but I think Burrell right now, man in form, scoring goals, in the right place at the right time. You know, he deserves to be on the pitch first team football, unless we give him a rest and then go from there. But that is my team, and obviously Nardi in goal. That's my team that, obviously, forgetting Norrington Davis now, but that's a team that I would hope, in my case, if I was the coach, I would probably try that, putting Dunn in the middle and Adamson on the right, if you're going to go 4 at the back, or if you're going to put 3 at the back, and Mbenge, Dunn, and Morrison. So yeah. Let's look at the comments again, see what it says. Ryan says, yeah, Foley, I think both need to start on the Sato and the Dembele thing. Stratton, what's your thoughts with Chair coming back into the team? Has he really made a difference? I think Chair has made a difference, mate. I think Chair... Listen, look, I've liked Chair since I've watched him growing into QPR. So I'll put it in perspective like this. For me, as when I had a season ticket, when did I have 10 years ago? No, 10, 50, I would say 14 years ago. I think it's been 14 years. I'm trying to think. 31. Yeah, 14 years I think it's since been had a season ticket, and I had that season ticket for about 12 to 11 years. I did, maybe a bit more. I can't remember too wisely. But I watched Chair when he was brought into the squad by Ian Holloway, and I used to go to the reserve games a lot. I did as well on a Tuesday and Wednesday night, and watching Chair play, it was, you could see the talent, but you couldn't see the confidence at a time. And for me, Chair, when we sent him out on loan, obviously to Stevenage, I think it was Stevenage, and then he started playing on the bench for us. And then when he did go on the bench at the time, and I said, you know what? When Eze starts, he will start with Eze, and they will combine a great two together. You know, and Chair to me is always an important player. Listen, he's Moroccan. He's not going to be the same quality as a Delta Rapt. Let's put it there. You know, Ilyas Chair is not a skillful player, right? He's never been a skillful player. He's been more of a player, like, in my opinion, like Hogan Ephraim. Someone that can deliver a ball into the box and be creative and be that person that has a tactically adapted mind in football to be in the middle of the park or on the wings, you know. That's who Ilyas Chair, I think, is. You know, he's a great, outstanding player. I think anyone at that height that can beat players and take on players is an exceptional talent whatsoever, you know. And that's why I like Paul Smith. Paul Smith has heart. Paul Smith is constantly playing for the badge and not the name, and that's what the type of players that I want to see at QPR. But my thoughts on Chair, I think he's a great player for us, and I think he's an important player for us, and he's a player that does need to play games for us. His playing style is very unique in the Championship that you rarely see anymore. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Chair. Ryan says no difference. Foley says Chair keeps cutting in on his right, so predictable. It's starting to get predictable, and that is obviously not great, you know. He's getting acknowledged by it, obviously, by going on his right, and you can see when he does go on his right that he can't get a shot in. But I think what he needs to do, he needs an overlapper, and he also needs Madsen to help him to get that ball onto his right foot with the 1-2s. Because I'll be honest, when he strikes that ball, when it's passed to him, it usually hits the back of the net. It does. It's a quality first strike he has when the ball gets passed to his feet. So yeah, I would say Madsen probably needs to open space up for him a lot more now, because everyone is identifying that he is strong. His strongest foot is on the right, and he will try and put goal on his right for a finesse shot into the corners. So yeah, you're right about that 100%, Foley. I agree with that 100%. You could see it in the Southampton game, and you could also see it in the game before that against Ipswich. So yeah. Codal says Burrell has passed Kone now. I still rate Kone, but he can't dribble for long. I think Kone, like I said, he reminds me of Frey, but he's more athletic than Frey, you know. And I like it. I like Kone. I've liked him since he came into the League One for Wickham. I think he has a cracking strike on him. He's a perfect finisher. But I think what lets him down is, like I said, when he has the ball in his feet and he has to dribble, he's not great at it that much. I think he's a poacher, you know, he's a poacher striker, and it's a very dream striker to have, you know, and that's why I say he reminds me, I think Burrell Morley reminds me of Tony now, and Kone more reminds me of, like, Dexter Blackstock kind of player, you know, someone that's great in the air, someone that's great on the ball, someone that's great at shooting, but you know, when it comes down to dribble and wise to get past players, it's not so great. But he's a wonderful, cracking striker that's going to do well for QPR in the future. So yeah, Kone just needs to be to be in the right position. He'll finish, but his position sometimes looks like he is frustrated. He gets frustrated because I reckon it's either two things. It's either the manager and the head coach or an analyst want him to play a certain way where he goes out to the wing to open space, which is not great for him because he wants goals, you know, and I don't think he's going to get goals by beating players in the air all the time in the box. So in my opinion, when the ball gets delivered to him in his feet, he's either going to pass it or shoot, you know. So in my opinion, him and Frey are kind of similar, and that's why they can't play with each other as a two up front, because it doesn't work. So yeah, but yeah, he does get frustrated a lot. Stan the Man says Chair would be a good player with great players around him. He's a luxury player. He is. He's a typical championship player. He is. Like O'Hare, Callum O'Hare, typical championship player. That is just outstanding, you know. Unfortunately, they haven't reached the heights of what you'd expect them to be. Like Ilias Share would probably, and Callum O'Hare, you could probably say, all right, cool, they should have had the same kind of glow as James Maddison in the championship, you know, where they should have pushed on and been sold or been more interest and attraction to them. But Chair has had injury problems, so that's probably why he's not going to be great at the moment, Chair. His injuries, his hamstring keeps going when he does overwork. So yeah, that's the only fault about Chair. His hamstrings are not great anymore. So yeah, but he's a very talented player. He is. Ryan says Chair and Sato gets into each other's way. I think they're similar players if you think about it, in a way where they both operate on the wing. The only difference is Sato plays better when he puts the ball from the inside and not from the outside side than the inside. You know, Chair seems to like the inside more, where Sato, he's better outrunning a player by passing the ball into the box through a player. So yeah, Sato and Chair, I would say they have different methods, but they are similarities there. You know, and like I said, the respect goes out to them for any type of football player that's 5'4", 5'5", 5'2", whatever it is, and you can get past players like that. I have humongous respect for them because it's difficult and hard, honestly. So yeah, I would say pretty much that, but yeah. Right, says Sato is a very skillful player, loves being fancy, and it works. I would say this. The thing with Sato is this. If you watch like videos when we sign a player, go watch YouTube, go watch videos of this player, go see how he plays, go see what positions he plays. You know, this is what you need to look at, because the manager is the main thing in the team at the end of the day, the head coach. Well, how is he going to play him? So that's where you got to look at these videos and think, all right, cool, let's see what he's about. So for me, when I watched Sato, because I didn't really know much of him until QPR, obviously on loan, but Sato for me is that he's come from a league where it's not easy, but it's a very skillful league. And for me, for watching him, he does try to do similarities of what he usually does by using skills to get past players. But in the championship, it's kind of difficult unless you're a Delta Rapt, you know. And even with now with a Delta Rapt, it might even be difficult for a Delta Rapt to even perform at this level now, you know. So yeah, I would say it all comes down to the difference of the leagues, you know. Sato's come and play, we got him from obviously the Dutch league, you know, and he's played in, you know, Japanese league and all that. So in my opinion, the Dutch league is a very you have to be very skillful in the Dutch league, you know, to be very good at being on the wing, you know. And that's what is the difference, you know. I think the nearest person right now that I've seen at QPR that could probably be skillful and everything like that, not compared to a Delta Rapt, but the nearest quality that we've had is probably Tyrone Chair. You know, Tyrone Chair was one hell of a player, one hell of a sign-in. You know, it was like a weird thing why a player like he reminded me of the West Ham winger. What's his name? Who is the West Ham winger? Who scored that cracking goal? I can't remember who it was now. It's getting with a D, I think. Dimitri Payet, right? That's who Tyrone Cherry reminded me of. Dimitri Payet. You know, a little bit of him. You know, very underrated, but yeah, great player. Ryan says, would you say Sarah is our best wide player at the moment? No, I would not say he's our best wide player. I think right now our best wide player is probably gonna be it's difficult to say actually. I don't think he is. If we're going with form right now, I would probably say Sato on form. But if we're gonna go with quality of player, I'd probably say Poku, 100% Poku. You know, we haven't seen the lights of Poku yet. And hopefully the injury that he's had is not bad. Hopefully it's all good. But you know, it's not looking great at the moment. But Poku probably is one of the best wingers that we have at the moment, I would say. Even though Sato has been playing, you know, I would say that pretty much. So yeah. First says, I agree with what you commented, DB, about changing the team to suit the opposition, but we have to have some idea of our best 11 by now. Listen, I think he knows his best 11, and I think we all know what our best 11 is, you know? We 100% we all know what the best 11 is, and that is putting Cook on the bench and having Mbenge and Morrison at the back, Dunn, Davis, Varane, Madsen, and it's the thing is, like I said, when with our forward line, we have so many attacking players now. It's difficult to, you know, Dembele's been out of form, but the last 2 games he played all right coming off the bench. So it's a wary, you know. It's each player has a difference. Each week, you know, and depending on how we play, you know. I feel like Julian needs to, like, obviously he ain't gonna tell us what his tactic is on how he wants to play, but looking at it, it seems to me that he wants to try and control games, you know, going from there. So yeah, but I think we all know who, and he knows who our best team is, but you know, it comes down to who he wants to play. At the end of the, oh jeez. Sorry, people. At the end of the day, I'm a bit tongue. I'm tired today. Stan the Man says Sato or Chair on the left. Sato for me. Right now, I would say Chair. Just because, obviously, I think Sato would be a lot better in the middle. Because I feel like he has the ability to get into the middle on the outside of the box to shoot. And you got to remember, like whoever Foley said, who is it who said that Chair's getting noticed now to be put the ball on his right foot. Sato won't be noticed, so sometimes the sort of change that you need is Sato and Chair. Maybe Chair would be best to not shoot and see if Sato can shoot, because we all know he can shoot. but it's just down to making sure he's available and free to take that shot where he is on the outside of the box or on the inside. So yeah. Foley says, I felt JS saying we have 18 points is not good enough. He said 18 points. The way I know what you mean. So in the thing, he said we have 18 points. But the reason why he's saying it is because he's saying, in fact, being that if you look at the rest of the table, right? Rest of the table are, you know, it's an open table pretty much. You know, if we had 9 points, you'd be like, what the hell, you know? He's doing awful if he has 9 points. But we have 18 points, you know, which is really good still. And that, I think 8, compared to what we had this time last season, I think this is the most points we've had this time from last season, you know? So I think him saying 18 points is just stating the fact being, it's not good, but it's not bad either. So yeah. Listen, look, we're only 14 games into the season, you know? We can't sit here and say, oh, it's game over. You know, if we do that, we're not fans at the end of the day. You know, this is a family club that has gone through hell and is just trying to understand how we rebuild and get into the Premier League again, doing it the right way, in the ways that we can't, like, in the ways that other teams do it, you know? So I feel like right now we're building a team still. I don't think we're ready for the Premier League yet. And I said this at the start of the season. I still think we're contention to be top 6 this season. But I would say right now, I don't want us promoted whatsoever. It'd be nice, but I think promotion, we need the right team to be up there. When we have that team like we did again for when Neil Warnock got us promoted, when we have those type of results and that type of mentality, I would say, Sarah, yeah, all right, cool. You know, let's think about rebuilding and sign some players that are ready for the Premier League, you know? Because I'll be honest, Chair's great, but I don't think he'll do well in the Premier League. I think Chair will struggle. I will. If you want my honest opinion, I think Paul Smith will struggle as well. So it's just one of them things, you know, that all we could do is try, you know. Foley says, yeah, true, just we could have had more. Yeah, 100%. Listen, look, this is the Championship, man. You know, it's one of the most exciting leagues, in my opinion, in the world, you know. And it's an up and down league table constantly. It changes, you know. If I had to sit here, when we in 2011, when we got promoted, and say Neil Warnock was going to promote us at the start of that season, I would have been dreaming. I didn't think we was going to get promoted. I knew we was going to do okay, but I didn't think we was going to get promoted, you know? And like I said, each season, each league improves because of not just budget or money, but because of what quality players are coming through the academies and what people are bringing in. I don't know if my camera has been lagging. I don't know. I'm not too sure if it's been cutting out. But yeah, for me, the Championship, it changes constantly each time. So, you know, if you look here right now, right, who would have sat here and thought Stoke City, Middlesbrough, and Millwall and Charlton would all be in the top 6 right now? You know, for starters, like, Charlton were really bad, you know, and they're probably taking a piss out of us right now. Charlton fans are. Millwall, they have a really good manager. I can't sit here and say that Gary Rowett is not. Gary Rowett is a typical Championship manager. You know, he's one of the best. You know, Preston North End, I think they have a really good manager. Middlesbrough, I'm a bit surprised about what they're doing. Stoke City have a great manager, and Coventry City have a great manager, you know. If Lampard was at Derby, I'd stayed at Derby instead of going to Chelsea. He probably would have got Derby promoted the next season, but he decided to change his fortune and go to Chelsea, you know. So yeah. Foley says, yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm Rangers till I die. Just our form and certain games we could have got a little more. Like I said, I agree with you, man. Listen, Southampton game, we should have won that 100%, you know. And the Ipswich game, that shouldn't have happened. Derby was a bit of a weird one because Derby had a different game plan, and I can see that, you know. Swansea, I was a bit surprised that we won. We beat Swansea, to be honest. But the Millwall game, for sure, we can't be losing to Millwall at home. That was ridiculous, you know. So that needs to be improved, 100%, way 100%. So yeah. Ryan says, would you say tomorrow is a must-win? Every game now is a must-win. Every game. Tomorrow's a must-win. But like I said, it's an away game. And the likely chances are this away game might be a bit tipsy-topsy. But let's take game by game. But I say this, each game is a must-win. 100% each game is a must-win. Foley says, yeah, true, definitely a surprise this season. And Millwall were dark horses last season. I'm not sure if I wasn't really focused on the dark horses bit. Like, everyone seems to think QPR are dark horses this season, but that's only because obviously the players that we've signed, you know. So yeah, I think QPR are great, and it's all down to our team at the back, in the back staffing room and everything like that, to say that they've done a great job in the summer, and rebuilding this club to be better. And the thing is, which I appreciate, the fact that Christian Nuri, what he does is the fact being that where our old CEO, so as I don't know if it, Lee Hoos, right, with Lee Hoos, Tony Fernandez and Les Ferdinand, they were more interested in building a stadium than building a team, you know, because this is what businessmen think about: revenue. You know, if you build a stadium that's 45,000 seater, that's revenue for them. But in my opinion, how are you going to fill up a 45,000 stadium if we can't even fill up an 18,000 stadium? Makes no sense, you know. And that's the difference between then and now. Now we're focused on the team, let alone building a bloody stadium, you know. If something isn't going to happen, don't focus on it. Wait till the right moment comes for that. Right now, we are focusing on the team and understanding what needs to be done. Until a right thing happens with the stadium, then I would say, all right, cool, then maybe focus on the stadium. But we haven't. If we can't fill out a whole 18,000 stadium, how do you expect 45,000 fans to fill out a stadium? You know, it makes no sense to me. So yeah. Ryan says, I just think we won't improve if we keep playing the same formation or system. It's that one I can't answer because it's Julian's tactics at the end of the day. You know, I don't know what, you know, half of the time when you look at what you see on the field, it's one of them things where you hope something's changing, but half of the time, like you said, he is a classic manager where he likes classic formations. He doesn't like to have a formation that is, as they said, a complicated formation, you know, and that's why you see the 4-4-2, the 4-2-3-1, and a 4-3-3 from him. That's the only formations that he will ever use, you know. But you won't tactically adapted. He'll go from a 4-2-3-1 to a defensive 4-4-2. So yeah, it's one of them things where you won't know what he does unless he says it. You know, I don't know what his tactics are sometimes. All I can see is that when we pass the ball, we play it from each wing to wing, and then we use our goal, like our long ball sometimes, like typical championship team. But it's understandable if he's if he says that he's been revised in the championship. So yeah. Foley says, I hope JS will play a diamond formation. Why, as in a 4-1-2-1-2 or 4-1, whatever it is. Listen, when we went into the league, right? When we played Coventry, I'll put it in perspective like this. When we played Coventry, it was bad, really bad from the first whistle. We had Varane, field, and I think it was Kieran Morgan. It was, I think, all in midfield. And Kieran Morgan was the worst player on that pitch, and Varane. Them three couldn't work together. Kieran Morgan kept giving the ball away. He kept losing the ball. Varane, same thing. Field was struggling because he was running up and down that pitch. So yeah, it's a weird one. You know, the 4-3-3 for me might not work for QPR. You know, Kieran Morgan might be better playing right back. In fact, that maybe play Kieran Morgan right back tomorrow with Jimmy Dunn and bloody Mbenge in the middle, and put Harvey Vale on the left or Kieran Morgan on the left. You know, it depends what he wants to do. But at the end of the day, we can't say anything until that team is released. You know, he will rotate everything, but usually 3 game weeks he will rotate. When it's 1 week games, you know, he won't rotate. You know, because he'll be energized. So yeah. Wham says, DB, my apologies tonight. Listen, you don't have to apologize, Wham. Listen, you're totally welcome to be late. That's totally up to you. If you're busy, you're busy. Ryan says, we need to start shooting and getting balls into the box. So he looks scared to whip a cross in, same as Chair at the moment. The thing is, it's the game plan. I don't know what the game plan is in getting goals at the moment. It looks like hit and hope, you know, sometimes. We struggle in the sense of, I agree with the shooting wise. We need to shoot more on goal when we get the opportunity, like the Southampton player did yesterday, and the camera just messed up there. I don't know what's going on with my camera at the moment. That's weird. But yeah, it's one of them things that I would say is it needs to be worked on. What we need to do. But I would say right now, it looks like we're trying to just deliver the ball into the box majority of the time and go from there. So yeah. Wham says, I'm looking forward to your stream for the Sheffield United game. Much appreciated, Wham. Much love on that one. Foley says, definitely need to test this keeper tomorrow. I need to look at this keeper. I'm not too sure what's been said. I need to look at it, because I haven't really had any time to have a more in-depth look at Sheffield United. So I'll have a look at it later, and then when we're live tomorrow, we'll go from there. But I need to sort this camera. This camera situation is doing my head in. Ryan says 100% Foley, obviously on the keeper. Wham says, what time is your stream starting for Sheffield? It will be starting around about 2:45 usually. I would start at 2:30, but the problem is there's not much to talk about for half an hour before the game, you know. It's just gonna be all gibberish and jabberish, you know. That's why we do the match review today. If we kept it just to one stream and put everything in one, so like the match review and the match after action all in one on one day, then maybe we could do that. But 2:45 is pretty much as simple as that. I think 15 minutes to talk before the game is all right, you know. So yeah, 2:45 usually is when we start our watch-alongs. When we have any latest news and like reactions and stuff like that, is usually 7 o'clock. So yeah. Ryan says we always find shit to talk about. Foley says on Hoopsa channel their fan said he is a bit of a nightmare. Okay, I'll have a look at it. I will. The keeper wise, I guess you talk about the keeper. In I think it's Cooper. I think, yeah, Cooper. Flipping hell, yeah, goals conceded is bad. 100%. Goals conceded 76%. That's bad. Not great. But let's try and hope we don't get 60 balls into the box like flipping Wednesday night. So yeah, it's mad. Foley says, to be honest, I like our little QPR forum lol. So yeah, listen, look, I'll say this right now, you know, I think the main guy for QPR content and stuff like that is probably Hoopsa. 100%. Hoopsa is 100% QPR down, QPR constantly. I think he's just done it. I think he's doing an England channel as well now, for England. So yeah, shout outs to Hoopser anyway. Hoopser seems to do what he's doing. You know, he's doing a cracking job with the QPR. You know, getting the interviews with Burrell and stuff like that. He does it. He's more of a journalist. You know, he does a cracking job. So yeah, I think Hoopser is probably one of the best out there for QPR content. So yeah, for me, I just do this because obviously it's like therapy for me, man. I'm a big supporter of QPR. I've always have been. It's much love, and I enjoy talking to you guys. You know, I tried to do this season's a bit different. So obviously this was kicking off, so I decided to put more QPR stuff with the what, you know, certain things. But yeah, from there, Ryan says, not Cooper, he is injured. Is it back up for? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Cooper is out tomorrow. Davis is worse. Okay, so it's Davis, yeah? Okay. David Evans says, Cooper are shit at the moment. Everybody expects us to lose, but this is a game we will win 1-0 or 2-1, but manager needs to be sacked. Ain't good enough. David, are you talking about Cooper? I guess you talk about Julian Stefan. If you are talking about Julian Stefan, I don't think he needs to be sacked. 100% he don't need to be sacked. If you can give me a great reason why he needs to be sacked, I would agree with you 100%. But in my opinion, for what I've seen on the pitch, there's nothing wrong on the playing style. Do you know what? I'll put his perspective like this, right? I like Almiron for Man United. I like him. I think he's a good coach. He's very tactical, and you know, I think he's a great coach. But it's one of them mixed things where just because you don't get a result and you play brilliantly doesn't mean the guy needs to be sacked. I think he's doing well for QPR. You know, he's doing a better job in attacking wise than Marty. And if you can think of a person that can come into QPR right now and perform the results that fans want, then cool. Okay, but there's no one out there right now that I think that we can afford to change the game 100%. The only person right now is Julian, and that's what our main focus is. Julian is the only one that I can see that we've had for the past three seasons that has been great, you know? No, Critchley was the worst one. Critchley's shit. I don't know why we brought him in. Had no confidence in him coming in. Critchley was shit as hell. Wanted him out of the club even when he came in. That was it. Gareth Ainsworth, he's my idol. I just had to take it out on the chin, to be honest. I didn't think he was the right choice for QPR. I don't think QPR players took him serious. I don't think, you know, it was a decision that was thought of wisely. But yeah, that's my opinion on him. But yeah, I think Julian does not deserve to be sacked. You know, the results for me, yeah, we're all upset about the results, but in my opinion, results sometimes, you know, you got to finish your chances, and at the end of the day, if the coach is telling you what to do and you're not doing it, then cool. You know, and by the end of that, I do agree with you sometimes. You know, we're out of form, we ain't doing well, but this is the thing. We'll get in a good form of running like 3 games, 4 games, 5 games on a trot that's wins and looking good. But then if we got bad, it's sacking. But then, you know, everyone has their different mind. But for me, as a football guy, I would say he's doing a great job. You know, I don't think we'll be bottom 10 like we usually are for the last couple of seasons. I believe we will finish top 10 this season, but like you said, it's going to be one of them things where we need to work ourselves into it. You know, we got January coming up, our main priority, which I will put a video out on this soon of what we need, but just a huge spooner. I would say our main priority right now, looking on Wednesday night, we need Ronnie Edwards. Bring Ronnie into the club right now. 1st of January, I want to see the same Instagram posts as I saw last year or this year. Ronnie Edwards has signed permanent deal. Not loan, permanent deal. You know, that's my main thing this in January. We need to prioritize Ronnie Edwards' first signing. That's it. You know, and then maybe we can look at other positions. I do say left back, we do need to work on the left back position and then go from there. But, you know, going from there, I would say main priority, Ronnie Edwards into the club. I'm not saying I know something, but I'm not saying much at the moment. James says, have you lost 4 and 5? We have lost how many have we lost now? Watford's on in a minute anyway. Jeez. Let me check again. I think it's 4 and 5. No, 3. So we've lost 4 and 5. We have, yeah, correct, 4 and 5, correct. Sorry, I was looking at. Fody says, don't do yourself a disservice. Your channel is good, mate. I appreciate it, Fody. Listen, look, I'm not trying to be negative on the channel whatsoever, but it's just for me, it's like, you know, I feel like there's a different exile on what is reported for QPR, and I think what he's doing is just brilliant, and I enjoy his content, I really do. And if there's a time that, you know, there's a collab, amazing, you know, it'd be great to have him in a have a QPR podcast, you know, it'd be great. But in my defense, there's already QPR podcasts out there, you know. You got your West 12 podcast, you do. So yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like they're just doing great things at the moment for QPR. You know, at the end of the day, we could push it obviously with our channel, but we'll see what happens in the future. You know, we'll go from there. Ryan says, no reason to sack him, not going to get anyone better. I agree, Ryan. That's why I just my little ramble I said about. James says, you're in a result business. Will Norrington Davis play tomorrow? Norrington Davis will not play tomorrow because obviously he's on loan. So he won't even be on the bench. So be luckily, we'll probably see Esquadina on the field or on the bench tomorrow. So just a heads up to that. Foley says, yeah, stick with JS. 100% agree. Ryan says, but is Ronnie coming back? For what I've heard, Ronnie wants to come back. You know, his family apparently want him to come back to QPR. So that's what I've heard. But I'm not saying that. There is conversations that I've heard. Conversations back and forth. So I'm not saying much, but I've heard, like, it's literally like the Sato deal. I heard certain things and I met Sato in London. I did. And I spoke to Sato. So yeah. Foley says, hope so, Reese. Foley says, free Ronnie. Wham says, Julian is doing well, give him time. That's the main thing, is time. You know, if you're in the relegation zone, cool, I get it. Sack the guy, you know, sack the guy. If you're by January in the relegation zone, minus 25 goal difference, wherever points it is, and like there's like a 10-point gap from getting out of relegation, then cool, all right, sack him. I agree with it 100%, but he's got nothing to be sacked about, you know. And this is typical football stuff where it's just the Arsenal going on all over again, you know. Should you sack Mikel Arteta because he's playing boring football or he's just not delivering a trophy? At the end of the day, football's changing, people. It's all about the money, you know, money. Look at Brighton, look at Sunderland, look at all these teams, you know. And that's what I'm saying. Sunderland's doing well because they have a good run of a club. They have a good owner, a good young owner, I should say, who focuses on the right strategy and everything. So, in my opinion, it's just football. This is how football is. When you see podcasts like the Top Four or something like that, all you're going to talk about is Arsenal, Man City, or Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Liverpool, you know? That's what you're going to talk about. By the end of the day, no one will talk about Sunderland in the top 4, Aston Villa, or whoever it is. No one will do that because it's not a big name for them, you know? So, yeah. Ryan says, people forget that we are 8 or 9 points clear of relegation, quite a big gap. Yeah, listen, look, you can think about a relegation gap, but did you know we're only 4 points, 5 points away from playoffs? So, you know, the difference is we're closer to the playoffs than we are to relegation. Just because we're 16th, point-wise, you know, we're more closer to the playoffs. So, yeah. That's all I gotta say anyway on that behalf. But I'm a huge Julian Stefan fan. I back him all the way. I feel like we've done the right signings this year to do well. So yeah, I think the reason is poor results, and that is it. Poor results that are making clumsy mistakes at the back again. And until we get a defensive line, and in my opinion, if we have brought Steve Bold in to help the defense and he's not doing the job, why is he still at the club? You know? So yeah, I think we need to bring in a set piece guy. We need to bring in a set piece analyst, or whoever it is you call him. We need to utilize set pieces again, like what Marty and Javi did. But that's another talk for another time. That is. Ryan says the league is way too open to worry about it. Listen, like, I will not worry until I see something that is worrying, you know. And for me, coming from where I am, where I've seen QPR almost be liquidated, right? I'm from an era where QPR almost got liquidated, you know, and it took Briatore and Flavio to buy the club to save us, you know. And a lot of people hated them. For me, Briatore, they weren't great football businessmen, but they saved our club. And that, to me, you got to give huge shout outs to them, honestly. But listen, like I said, I've come from an era where I've seen physically my club almost get liquidated, you know. So I know what it feels like for a Sheffield Wednesday fan. So, you know, and it tells you the end of that 2011 season in Palladini's face, how it meant to him. And, you know, it goes that way. So, yeah. But we'll see what happens. We'll be live tomorrow. We will, for our game against Sheffield United. I'm going to try and sort out this camera thing, because this camera thing's bloody annoying. I know it's not annoying you lot, but I don't know what's wrong with it. It does confuse me. I don't know if it's the PC playing up or what. But yeah, we're going to leave it there for tonight. We've been on for almost an hour. Jesus Christ. These ones are the ramble ones. But if you enjoyed the episode, well, not the episode, the video, hit the like button, subscribe if you want to, totally up to you, but it helps the channel grow. Hit the like button. Let's try and hit 10 likes on this video, and we'll see you tomorrow for Sheffield United away. And yeah, we'll go from there. So have a great evening. Shout outs to all of you guys. You guys kill the stream every time, all the time. It's like therapy. So yeah, you guys have a great evening, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Don't work too hard, don't drink too much, and yeah, but enjoy yourself. Cheers.